Hello friends, it's time to talk about the boring topic. It's about SCHUFA in Germany, and if you live in this country, you know that SCHUFA actually shows how trustworthy you are as a potential tenant for the renting apartment, or for example, as the potential candidate to get agreed the mortgage for purchasing some real estate. That's why this topic is really important to know, and recently there have been some changes to the scoring system, and I want to brief you through how it looks right now, what to expect, and how to actually understand how you can improve or what may potentially decrease your score in the SCHUFA system. And let's go straight away to the categories that released as the criteria how every one of us who is applying for SCHUFA certification or verification would be analyzed throughout our history, mostly with the bank. And let me start from the least important one, and we would gradually move to the most important one. And the first one, score criteria number 12, it's your authentication. If you have approved all the documents, if you verified or authenticated yourself through the system, you would basically receive first 38 points, and if you don't have the verification done, you would have 0 point at the starting point. And it's very important to understand that when in the future we would all apply for one apartment with competing with hundreds different potential tenants, believe me, even one credit would make a difference. So that's why be careful how you actually lead your scoring system in the SCHUFA. And moving on to the scoring criteria number 11, it's about the mortgage. And in this case, the maximum amount of points you can get is 55 points if you have an existing mortgage or you have a guarantee for you to get the mortgage. If you are already in the process when you are going through the approval system, in that case you would receive 55 points in the SCHUFA system. It means simply that you are fitting into the boxes, you are actually trustworthy by someone. So that's why it gives a hint, it gives a clue to SCHUFA that you are a trustworthy person. If you don't have any mortgage, in this case you would receive simply 0 point. It doesn't matter if you had an intention to get a mortgage or you simply choose to not buy any real estate with the mortgage options. Moving on to the scoring criteria number 10, it's the credit status. Again, here it's possible to get from 0 up to 19 points into your overall scoring picture. And what are the criteria? In case you have a negative settled loans, you would receive 0 points. It means that you are actually less trustworthy than if you compare yourself to the person who has no credit history. In this case, this person would receive 9 points into their scoring system. And to get 19 points in this criteria, one need to have the positively settled installment loan. That would give again the sign to the SCHUFA that you are actually having a credit and you are a responsible person who can pay on time, and in this case you would receive 19 points in this scoring system. But moving on to the scoring criteria number 9, that is longest remaining term of all the installment loans. So it means for how long you have your loans to be paid off. And if you have the long distance, for example, more than 6 years ahead to pay your loans, in this case you receive 0 points. If you have loans that you need to pay between 5 and 6 years, in that case you receive 10 points. If it's below 5 but more than 4 years, in that case it's gonna be 28 points. 48 points you receive if your loan is around 3 to 4 years to be paid off completely, and the maximum score you receive if you have no installment loan, or if the remaining terms to pay off that loan is around 3 years or less. In this case you receive 61 points. That adds more value to your scoring picture, and you are getting ahead of any other candidate who has, for example, longer terms to pay off their loans. And moving on to the section number 8, that is installment loans taken out in the past 12 months. You might be confused a little, like I do. I think every one of us do get confused, but the SCHUFA tries to look at each candidate from the different perspective. And with criteria number 8, they actually try to look at you with yet another perspective. In this case, they are taking a look into your history of the past, of the recent 12 months. And in case you have at least 3 loans during that time of the period, looking backwards into 12 months in the past, you would receive 0 points. In case you have 2 loans inside this period of time of 12 months in the past, it would be 32 points. If it's only 1 loan that you got over the course of the previous year, it would be 48 points. And if you have no installment loans, or your last loan was more than 12 months ago, in this case you would receive the maximum amount, 66 points, to your SCHUFA scoring system. And with that, moving on to the category number 7, it's the number of inquiries outside of your banking sector. And to make it a bit clear, that if you use actively online shopping, you probably have seen that for some purchases, for shopping items, or for some services, or for even booking system, you can pay in some portion, split, for example, by 3 months. I regularly see this available through my online banking, so that's why it wasn't a big surprise. But what was the big surprise? That actually this is going to be reflected in your scoring system, how trustworthy you are. Because if you have 4 or more inquiries when you ask to pay by splitted amount of money, you are not able to pay the full price all at once, in that case you would receive 0 points. If you had 3 inquiries in the course of the recent 12 months, in that case you would receive 40 points to your SCHUFA. In case of only 2 inquiries over the past recent year, then you would get 71 points to your SCHUFA scoring system. And if there is no or only 1 inquiry to pay off any purchase splitted by parts, in that case you would receive the maximum amount. It's 99 points in this category, and would be again higher in your rating scoring system. And the category number 6, it's actually number of inquiries already inside the banking system. It means for the current banking account or your credit card in the past 12 months. In that case, if you have 3 or more inquiries to your bank, then you would receive 0 points in this scoring system. But if it's only 2, for example, new accounts, new cards opening, so you inquired something from your bank and you are in the process of getting that over the course of the recent 12 months, in that case you would receive 44 points. If there was only 1, for example, new credit cards that you inquire from your banking system, existing one, in that case you become even more reliable because it just minimal changes to your overall banking picture, let me put it that way. In that case you receive 82 points in the SCHUFA scoring system. But if you are a perfect candidate and you are super stable, you have everything you need from the credit cards perspective, credit cards and banking account, in that case you would receive the maximum amount of points available in this category. It's 117 points if you have no inquiries in the recent 12 months. And with that, let's move to the 5th category. That's the becoming even more hotter topic, because I already feel how difficult it would be for some people to get actually a good scoring on that categories. And the 5th category is the age of the most recent credit line. So if you do have the credit card in Germany, actually you do need to have some sort of credit card, because the Girokonto that is typical for Germany and to be used inside Germany, it's very difficult to use that card even for booking outside of Germany. And sometimes even inside Germany you are not able, if you use booking.com, that's where you actually need to provide the credit card, so the different set of numbers, in order to be able to pre-book some accommodations for your next vacation, for example. In this case, if you have used your credit facilities for less than a year ago, in this case you would become less trustworthy person. It means that you would get 0 points in that case. If you have used your credit facilities available in your given situation for more than a year ago, in this case you receive 16 points into your SCHUFA scoring system, and the maximum amount of 36 points in SCHUFA you can get if you haven't used your credit facilities. But now let's move on to the category number 4. It's age of your current address, and I think that's the most tricky one, because for those specifically who lives in Berlin, for example, or in another big city where it's a shortage of the good offers and the demand for the apartments is really high, because in that case actually you are relying on finding the contract where you could stay and rent your apartment for multiple years. And spoiler alert, that's not the case for most of people who are just moving into this city. But in this category you can actually be rated from 0 points to 94 points. I won't name all the years, all the tenors, how long you should live in your apartment in order to get those points, but actually the difference is not as big. For example, if you live in Berlin somewhere on your current apartment less than 7 months, you would receive 0 point, but if you are living there already more than a year, in that case you have 17 points. For me, I live in my apartment over 9 years already, and in this case I would receive 58 points, but to receive 94 points, the maximum amount of available points in this category, one needs to live in their apartment over 20 years. So you see the difference is not as big and not as impactful in the score of almost 1,000 points. I think that's something that may look scary, but at the end it's just amount of few points less than other people would be competing, because I always apply SCHUFA to the circumstances where I applying for the new apartment, and I really want to be the best candidate to get the approval for becoming a new tenant to the apartment I desire. But now let's move on to the top 3 categories, scoring categories that would help you to either outstand with your SCHUFA or would decrease your overall scoring picture. And category number 3, it's the age of the oldest credit card. If you have one, again, I got my, I think maybe 9 or 8 years ago. That was the time when I started actively booking by myself the travels outside Germany and inside Germany, and that's where I actually needed to have the credit card. Right now I probably would even cancel that if I will, because now I have N26 that gives me already by default this standard 16 digits card that I can use for booking. But back in the days there was no possibility to book anything with Girokonto, so that's why I proactively need to apply for the credit card, but I have really minimum limit on that card to use it as the real credit card, just for me to simplify the booking system. But in this case you actually have the possibility to get from 1 to 81 points. Overall it's again not as big impact as it may seem from the first look, and again the lower you are on your tenor owning some credit cards, the less points you would receive. For example, if you have no credit card, by the way, you would receive 24 points, so it means you are really financially literate person, and let's talk about that in the different video. But if you have the credit card opened just recently within last 6 months, in that case you would receive 0 points. But after that time, if you pass your first 6 months, you would already receive 14 points and so on so first. And to get the maximum amount of the scoring points in this category, you would need to be a credit card holder for over 15 years. In that case, you receive 81 points to your SCHUFA scoring system. That again sounds very realistic and doesn't look like a big drama to me when you start seeing it from the scope of almost 1,000 points. That's not giving a big difference. But let's take a look to more important one. To my point, it's about the how long you have your bank contract. So we read it between the lines that how loyal you are to your bank, and if you are staying with one bank and you are keeping all your personal finances transparent to the banking system, or you are jumping from one bank to another without the reason, or maybe with the reason to hide something. In that case, you can receive from 0 up to 69 points maximum, and again the difference is not as big. For everyone who just come to Germany and has no bank, they would already receive 80 18 points, but if you recently open your bank account first time and it's less than 3 months you are into your new bank, in that case you would receive the minimum amount of scoring points. It's 0 points, but everything that hits after 3 months actually starts slowly giving you more and more points and slowly increasing your overall SCHUFA scoring position. And if you are with any bank over 20 years, you would receive the maximum amount of available points in this category. It's 69 scoring points. And as you see, every year, every even quarter, you might already hit different categories, and your scoring system would always changing, like living by itself, living by your behavior. So that's why if you are considered to get your new apartment, or you are thinking about getting a mortgage, please make sure to prioritize taking a look into your SCHUFA beforehand to understand actually how you can improve, where are the wiggle room available for you to improve your overall scoring system in order to be the candidate who get an approval rather than a rejection for getting the mortgage. And we are actually moving on to the last one that becomes the most important criteria. That's where you can get the maximum amount of points, and actually it influences your picture because it talks about the payment issues. For this category, the maximum amount of scoring points you can receive if you have no payment issues, it would be 264 points. But if you had your issue, they actually don't give the super detailed information, but you can definitely read through all the information available on the official site of SCHUFA. I actually linked that in the description box, so you can see that if you had some issues and resolved that over 2 years ago, in that case you can receive 152 points into your scoring system. If that issue appears recently and you resolved that less than a year ago, within last year, in this case you receive 135 points. And if you have simply a payment issue that might be not resolved yet, in that case you receive the lowest rating. It means in this category 100 points to your overall scoring system. Regardless where you use SCHUFA, I hope you become financially responsible person, because that's my channel for. Here I share with you everything I know about life in Germany and how to stay financially independent person, even if you are an immigrant living in the foreign country. And here are more videos on those topics, and definitely let's see each other very soon. Take care and see you. Bye bye.